Yeah, just cigarettes. Does Nigel dictate the product from you?
Dictate everything from everywhere. From everywhere at all times. Nope. I didn't.
Where's my sandwich?
Here's your sandwich. I got it.
Well, that's not right.
But only 100, so I can only spend one time.
Let me just get to the first graph. Good.
Plan the United States federal government should implement a carbon tax at $5 per ton of carbon dioxide from any stationary source emitting more than 1 million tons of carbon dioxide per calendar year. Again, the USFG should implement the carbon tax at $5 per ton of carbon dioxide from any stationary source emitting more than equal to or more than $1 million, or more than 1 million tons of carbon dioxide per calendar year. Questions?
How many facilities, or like what percentage of US coal facilities emit over this amount?
Almost all.
All, basically all.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Okay, significant portions.
A significant portion.
Fair.
What's climate change? Arms. First argument is that carbon dioxide emissions are high in status quo. The U.S. produces and the U.S. emits 19.34 metric tons per capita. China emits 4.96 and India emits 1.34. This has been steadily increasing since 2000. Additionally, currently we're at 389.78 parts per million. Carbon dioxide concentration within the atmosphere. The tipping point is articulated at 400 parts per million as per 2000. For several other peer-reviewed studies, this has been steadily increasing at about 200 parts per million per year over the past decade. Which means this has been increasing at about 2 parts per million per year, and we are expecting it to put in no return within the next decade. Additionally, atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide is 35% higher than it was before the Industrial Revolution, according to the EPA, which means that we're looking at climate change in the status quo. Solvency first is carbon tax is a taxing process. There's a taxation. It taxes the process that leads to pollution. Maryland had a carbon tax at this rate since May of 2010, at this rate with these stipulations since May of 2010, which has brought in $15 million in the first year. The money goes to green tech development as well as to green tech development and to reverse climate change. The plan is normal means for how carbon taxes are implemented in places like Boulder, Australia, San Francisco, and Maryland. This is the exact type of modeling for the exact type of tax as it has worked in these places empirically. Second, we decrease the incentive for companies to emit, which it becomes by creating a high tax. By creating a high tax, they either pay the tax and the money goes to reverse the effects of climate change, which solves warming, or they try to avoid emissions as much as possible. This is the business model for most corporations because they strive for most profit, which means they would decrease unnecessary costs, which means there is an incentive to develop and use better technology, solve impacts. First is 400 parts per million is the point of no return. This leads to an atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide that is so high that it leaches into water at a rate that is so high that it creates high ocean acidification. Ocean acidification means that we're incapable of growing agriculture because there is literally too much hydrogen for a plant to be able to survive. The pH of the ocean is decreased from 8.25 to 7.8 in the past 150 years, which is a rate 100 times faster than the last 20 million years. This is expected at the rate that we are currently emitting carbon dioxide to project a 5% survival rate by 2050. This means no agriculture means that we collapse all systems of infrastructure, makes it impossible for individuals who live on the coast to be able to use the resources that are available to them. Literally, the agriculture cannot exist in the world of ocean acidification because all water is too acidic for you to use. It's literally like trying to grow things in poison. Additionally, fish are incapable of surviving, which means that there is enormous amounts of biodiversity loss, especially loss in coral reefs, which hold 82% of marine biodiversity to use all the military technology available to be able to get the resources. It means that the threat for nuclear war is much paramount for nuclear war makes it much more likely. And we will all time nuclear extinction as nuclear weapon will be able to kick up that dust blood of the sun. Makes all photosynthesis impossible, which also stops agriculture. Next. Advantage 2 is competitiveness. Farm's first argument is that internationally there's been a transition towards renewable energy and low carbon transportation that has begun a worldwide market that will be in place within as soon as the next 10 years. There is private investment, governments, multilateral institutions, the G8, Copenhagen, Cancun are all examples of the international community coming together to create green structures. The incentive to make, and this is based on an incentive to make economic growth as environmentally sustainable as possible. This transition is necessary because to maintain career prosperity, we must decrease externalities and change the way in which we consume resources. Renewables are the market of the future, and they will dwarf other forms of energy because energy underpins most economic activity, which means that market conditions for development and market conditions for good development rely on access to energy resources and the ability to extract resources. The EU and Japan are also poised to take dominance over the current market. For example, Netherlands controls 60% of wind turbine creation. They also control the enormous amount of electric cars and switching to the grid to be able to account for more electric cars. Japan controls the photovoltaic cell market, and India invests over $500 million in renewable resources per year, which means that the competitive advantage for innovation is against the U.S. and the status quo. We need all of these countries that have a head start because of compliance with Kyoto Treaty 10 years ago, and there's not an incentive for the U.S. companies to meet carbon competitiveness, which decreases the U.S. ability to compete, and blocks the EU and Japan into competitive edges. This is because when we act, it decreases cost at a virtual level. We that in the U.S. it's just a choice to be environmentally friendly, whereas in other countries it is literally by law you are required to do this. Insolvency first is we expand the U.S. access to emissions trading markets internationally. 50 other countries that also do emissions cap, which means the global market, which is valued at about over $100 million per year. U.S. multinational corporations currently have to abide are subject to international environmental regulations without the benefits of credits for emissions that they decrease within the U.S. Other countries also enact tariff barriers against the U.S. businesses because they think that the U.S. has an advantage, which means that they need to mark back that advantage in order to stop regulatory uncertainty. This means that the money seen the way that we change this allows us to be in compliance with international markets, which means that we can gain our competitive edge. We say that renewables are necessary for economic leadership. We need to be able to take leadership on this, not only for science diplomacy, which is necessary for international cooperation on climate change makes all. Climate change, also we say that economic leadership is necessary for us to set the best standard for how to decrease climate change. The U.S. has the best atmospheric scientists in the entirety of the world. They're trained at Harvard and MIT and Berkeley, which are some of the leading places. The only risk that we have of having any economic advantage in the future.
Okay. I'm starting to cross second now. So you read a bunch of meetings about why basically every other country in the world is developing a bunch of renewables markets. Why isn't that solving global warming?
Because those markets are regulating carbon emissions within those countries. If you remember the first point of uniqueness coming off of advantage 1, the U.S.
So the U.S. is the key influence to all global warming.
The U.S., because we produce so much carbon, because we emit carbon at such a 4 times the rate of the next leading emitter, is necessary.
Okay, that's fine. What countries have put tariffs on the U.S. because we haven't done emissions reduction?
Germany and France and Greece. There are other countries too, Japan.
Okay. What specifically on?
I don't know. It's on a bunch of different things that we trade with them. I know that they have on.
Okay. So I have another question. What part of the plan gets us access to global emissions trading? Because it sounds like you just put a tax on it, not have a trading.
We're capable of entering the market when we are complying with international norms of how carbon taxing and carbon regulation work.
Okay.
The order will be 3 off, and then it's case in order. Everybody ready? that Congress is pushing for, there will be GOP backlash, and simply these block. I see that the EPA is the job-killing organization of America. I also want to block the EPA's doors. The next argument is there's a lot of opposition to regulation. For example, the GOP mainstays have stated that the EPA regulations and skepticism specifically on global warming are really important. A lot of Republicans don't even believe global warming. Next, arguments the Republican-led House has blocked American legislation 110 times. It's getting the majority according to Edison Electric Company. The utility cost, it would cost the industry $129 billion to do. Plan also would cost 1/5 of the increase in coal, which would make the Republicans really bad because they're defending coal now. The internal years that startups are good. First entrepreneurs who come to the United States with this bill, the actual proof thing, are capable of integrating into the United States. They have to have 100,000 jobs. They prove they can hire a bunch of people. Also, their new student visas, which are specifically for STEM workers. We'd also double the H-1B visas by 50,000. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are 9.2 million STEM jobs in the United States, but they can't be filled domestically because people don't have training. They don't have the type of training that is necessary to do this. Also, Silicon Valley is where the startups are happening, and individuals coming to the United States make up 52% of the organizations that are starting, but they're decreasing 47% because of the immigration regulation that we have now. This is really important because they are 2 times, the individuals coming to the United States are 2 times more likely to start a green tech and 2 times more likely to actually get a patent for green tech. So this would solve your advantage better. The first impact of this will be hedged. We can solve small conflicts in the world where the United States can just go into conflicts and say, no, you're not going to fight with each other. Probably means can resolve those. It also works as a dispute settlement mechanism such as the United States is internationally respectable. Also solves transition wars because the United States can ally with other individuals, which disincentivizes the likelihood of people going to war. This solves back for all of your small services, including resource wars. There's transition. The United States can take over, probably means people don't go try or die over resources. Next will be OPEC. The first argument is that oil is expected now. Couple reasons. First, it is on Valentine's Day, it was 90. The crude oil was increasing. Also, it's been trending upward this quarter. Prices from the mid-80s to the mid-90s and range in the summer. In February, OPEC increased demand by 80,000 barrels specifically because they thought that it was really important in the cold months. They're anticipating a lot of oil will happen. Will ease. The United States energy admission is saying that this is going to increase. There are also renewables are slow now because of this, and decarbonization. There are regulations. The Lincoln plan increases the price of refining oil and decreases demand because the carbon tax has an incentive for specifically targeting this industry. Cross-supply wide, it's bigger than the Republicans. Also, we are a net exporter, a lot higher than our wheat import, which indicates how much it would affect our economy. Also, this cascades over to other industries because you isolate that anything that's sedentary doesn't or gets regulated probably means there'll be problems with that. Also, causes problems because it would cause. Cause individuals to jump ship. The next is the internal links. OPEC would close in a world where they don't have a market after demand. They have no choice but to flood the market. This is what happened in the 70s. They have specifically stated that the green tech policy shift would cause OPEC to collapse because it would be a rapid switch to green tech. We will argue that a slow transition is good. The oil market is experiencing, it would be extremely volatile to be bad. First, in fact, first insurance case because of oil would collapse the Russian economy. According to the World Economic Forum, Russia is projected to have a couple of economic problems. There's a little bit of inflation, 1.6%, and a 0.9% drop in GDP, but this is all sustainable. But when the market floods, when OPEC floods the market, it hurts Russia because it would literally collapse them because there would be too much oil in the market. The prices would decrease a bunch, which is problematic because Russia is the EU's biggest trading partner. It contributes to half of the exports. Also, 15% of global imports and 15% of global exports means the global economy collapses, especially in order with the United States. It's also implicated in this is bad because it means that this is a better internal link into your resource scenario. Andy, do you want to counter that?
How much time?
3.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, the next argument will be the counter plan. The tax. The United States federal government should establish a 100% tax credit for the construction of tech power plants with capacity over 100 megawatts. The first argument under this is that ocean-based technology is solar grid. The ocean moves warm seawater into chambers and turns the turbine. It would create the ocean covers 70% of the world's surface, and this would create energy equivalent to 250 billion barrels of oil. If we could just garner 1/10 of the ocean solar energy, we could power the United States energy to be 20 times over. Tax credit is good because it's seen as a market solution. It's seen as an entrepreneurial spirit, which is good because businesses would like it. Also studies prove that tech could be done cheaply. It would be done with 7 cents a kilowatt hour, which would be good. The next argument will be on solvency. We'll solve now global warming. First, we have solar efficiency is increasing power plants and hydro plants are also increasing in natural gas and falling quality raising status quo solves. Our argument on next to the line by line. The first argument on uniqueness is the 450 parts per million is enough to set over global warming. All of your arguments indicate that we're a long time off now. Our argument is that the counterplan would certainly solve where the status quo would solve. Either it takes in a short term the status quo steps in, or in the long term OTEC steps in. Probably means none of your impacts happen. Usually this would create incentives. No, it wouldn't, because companies would just find ways around it. For example, have high capacity, such as refineries, which means the businesses aren't going to change. The tax is too low, which means that they'll just keep developing, or they'll just pass the burden on to consumers. You say the ocean acidification is going to happen. We would argue that this is inevitable. The ocean's already devastated by things like marine debris and a ton of pollution and runoff. You don't remedy these things. Also, acidification is going to happen with coral reefs. People step on them, people touch them, that kills the coral. Also, marine debris scratches them to bits. The coral reefs are all imperiled now, according to Oceanic Administration's next. It's about being stable in the long term. 99% of species have gone extinct. Using resource wars, people would involve each other's resources. Also, when we can check back, probably means that none of these things happen. Go down to the other advantage. You say multilateralism at the very beginning. Yeah, these are all causes. There could be state actors like Maryland or separate actors or other states. Probably means that status quo is solved. You say tax credits can work. Not true, because we can maintain other domestic agencies. Also, carbon tax credits, research and development, because that's where people invest extra money. You take that extra money. You say the global market. There isn't any cap and trade. The global market means you don't have any entrance. There is no way that they can measure the tariffs. You say leadership sounds like immigration is going to solve better because we have scientific diplomacy specifically and STEM and visas, and our technology is also good. All of your organizations have leadership, environmental leadership now, and that we have the best climate change scientists in the world. Probably means that the status quo solves, and the modeling should already have. Probably not a reason why the status quo would be solving. Only a reason why we want more people to come to the United States to actually invest in the best climate change programs. What?
Renewables are not connected.
Yeah. And also renewables are not key to economic stability. So.
Yes, but why?
Yeah, they're not key to economic stability because there's other things that can step in, there are other markets we can use.
So, if $5 is the model that's been used in several countries and states that we have cited, what is where are you getting this $15 per ton?
Well, the IPCC has actually done an estimate of the social cost of carbon, and they determined that $15 per ton is the actual social cost of carbon. So even if you decrease carbon use, you don't solve the externalities sufficiently to solve warming in the long run.
Okay. Well, how far is our OTEC development?
I mean, it's not like particularly far, but there have been some test plants that have come up that show efficiencies of up to like 20 or 30%, and we say that it's 10% sufficient.
Okay, so it's going to take.
So it's all pretty tight.
Okay.
That's how we
Order is going to be 1AC in order.
Okay.
Sorry, let me get the rest in the right order. And then it's going to be the politics.
Politics?
And then it's going to be the OPEC, and then the OTEC.
This is going to get confusing. I can already tell.
I'll work it out and then we count that. It was so tall up there. What? I'm sorry, I'm also like Rabbi just wants to draw the paper down there.
So, even if you were student prep, I wouldn't blame you.
Create a tower of papers. Okay, everyone good? It's gonna be a short overview on top case.
If you can pick up those papers, I don't want just
I don't need them.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to bring them for special case. Okay, everyone good? First, on the top case, we're gonna be controlling the extinction level scenario within the long term, which means that any capacity that we're taking will solve within the long term means that it means the resulting risk that not only to extinction that business only to extinction then the short term then the short term will get some of the impact of the level rate. Now the climate land first, they solve the stats will solve it now. There's no one that's not something else, there's no one's investing, it's not a financial incentive.
States economy is going to decline within short-term to face global warming now, as well as the impact of disadvantage now, because we are dependent on the economy. We can't have this like immigration reform because we don't have the soft power. In addition, it makes mass having that because it means that there's not going to be people leaving the markets and the leaders should be happening now. But the reason what we were saying that the United States needs to act because the small countries are acting now. The United States needs to act in order to have a larger nation for what things to be able to do, because we've seen it as a global leader and because we've seen it as an economic powerhouse on the immigration rate. First, the nation level. First, I the immigration is passing now. There's literally not a bill that has gone to the Senate committee or it's on the table right now, but we're capable of being able to discuss it. People progress this. I'm resources are going to be able to solve this next. We're going to see a huge time frame deficit not me because Congress is going to break within 2 weeks between this element and backlash on a specific issue. In addition, then after the bonus negotiation before they do the immigration reform, because it has a time limit, which means they're going to backlash on those issues and means the immigration reform is not going to slide by. It's going to go slide by next. You could say that you see the Obama that's going to be able to work or Obama has low, and Congress is the overturn. It's going to increase on the workers and the Obama capital so successful stability motions through Congress. We in the status quo, you see the status quo, jobs and deals, what's happening in the status quo, our independence is doing something we don't innovate, no capacity to innovate our economy within, short-term going to be solving this is to be able to create an industry in the United States and to be able to create new industry as an industry individual who gets out of the internal global debate. Next, on to the first argument is no cost on the time frame because the backlash and discrimination. The next argument is the backlash and discrimination because Republicans need the immigration, Republicans need the immigration and the immigration bill in order to be able to have a relax. The next argument is a link to that is linked to this is the best time, and Republicans think this is the best type of action on climate change because it allows the market to decide best what the best type of alternative energy is instead of influencing one, like the politics that does, because the Republicans view this not being part of the free market and not allowing capitalism to work. It's of course the politics that the capitalists also regard politics that when I see in addition, we know I something this with the United States, this is the next argument is linked to this increase of capital because it shows he's capable of increasing and following through the idea that he couldn't say being addressed like this is capital loud or he'll be able to be strong winners when he's going to be able to push immigration reform through Congress because they don't want the United States to look strong, so they don't want to fracture. We go on the next argument, you say that they'll opt for environmental legislation. Look, it's crossed-by the right, they know environmental legislation is coming to the status quo, which means this is the best type of legislation to use as a compromise, which is going to involve national impacts on the internal level debate. You can say these starting groups are good, they're going to be able to create jobs. Look, there's no market for these jobs exist in the status quo, which means people come here because the immigration reform, people are retiring because there's no incentive for them to transition that into alternative type of economy. The only worth money sees is economic growth, even possible next year because they usually decrease in job policies comes to the United States, which means the United States has to pay more. Well, because this decrease in terms of conflict, the United States has triple impact to decrease in business confidence, which paralyzes this long-term next year, this involves the economy, advance long-term implications, advantage, come down to the course of the economy class, environment class, we don't have the fuel to be able to run the economy, and take the impacts on that, but we have to solve climate change first, and the economic class will need to do work in the international work in the structure possible, the arguments that they made, specify the argument that they make about resource wars and not bombing the case, that there's a propensity stuff for this as legislation then, short-term, because they think that some countries have been in conflict with each other, it's not enough for every country to low, because some people left to survive, and a world with a disadvantage happens when the world want to see because of diversity class and needs to be controlled the highest magnitude of extinction. Backstopping? Okay. Concept of important suffering calls back out in the 70s. This is not how OPEC works anymore. We can say right now, the way the prices fluctuate in OPEC means that they're staying within $10 to $5 range. That was that low. This is because OPEC knows they plan to have resources and they want to be able to keep the price high or to be able to control it as long as possible. Or in a different situation, the world is 70s, using their empirical example. No function with the world we have right now. How right now, that's on the OPEC a little bit. They did increase in crude oil prices. Crude oil prices are actually decreasing. That's imports isn't going to be able to have economy anyways, even say 50% of imports. And as we're cross-platform from again, we'll be totally interlinked to this, and it's probably links to the Conklin Wars one. First argument is firm do both. Firm do both. There's no reason why you can't. Counterpoint this politics. In addition, it also leads to the OPEC is that because increased use of technology, there's any trade-off and still cost trade-off. And this would be an absolute number to do counterpoint the next argument is that OPEC is that OPEC fails for a couple of reasons. Works argument is that simply having things within the ocean, we don't have the infrastructure to have right now the infrastructure in other areas developed cheaper in other areas and economic benefit for imitation. Next argument is that we can't these people with international modeling because only people happening off the coast, which means that lets us people modeling, which means we're not even making the transition within the 10 to 20 year period to indicate the impact. Coming up with the next argument is that there's when we do things in ocean, we run the risk of destroying the coral reef biodiversity, which means we're showing demand to those impacts coming off the case because you're literally drilling things within the ocean and putting things that do not belong in the ocean into the ocean, causing increasing coral growth rates and increasing the ability they're going to drill into methane toxins, release this increased CO2 within the atmosphere, and also short-term term links to the access to thermal impact that we isolate. And there's no market for OPEC exists within the status quo, even if you have tax credit, still companies that aren't close to the ocean with capacity to be able to do this. For some reason, it's more time to speak up for you. So maybe I can get more angry. Oh, Jeff.
What's your argument for the volcanical level?
There was a pay freeze that Obama tried to overturn the pay freeze for federal workers that Congress then, he tried to stop the pay freeze, but Congress re-implemented the pay freeze, indicates that Obama's not capable of pushing for legislation now.
Okay, yeah.
You need another.
Okay, the order will be the OTEC counterplan, the OPEC dissent, they call me the king of politics, the warming advantage, the competitive disadvantage. Back it up. Ooh.
Hold on, I don't.
Is everyone ready?
Yes, that's already. We're going to try.
First step of the purpose of such competition over their office supplies is as long as the priorities on the counterfront go to the OPEC is today. First, you can send the argument that there's no plan to trade off with this kind of technologies and tax coal plants set up. Taxing more markets means that no preventing this, and there's also you can sue Russian or Russian economic clusters, they don't get any office on this case paper go to the politics instead. Okay, they've considered a bunch of specific getting these arguments about why the bill's coming up now and why it's going to pass. First argument is that the most conservative Republican in the Senate has agreed to do this kind of immigration reform. They hate other kinds of immigration reform because they love Mexicans in the country, but they like this kind of immigration reform because it does high-tech workers. That is the reason it's going to pass. And they say no bills came up. I disagree. There were 3 bills introduced last week that are all competing for this for comprehensive immigration reform. But these new reforms, what is coming down, that's our argument. They say it's behind closed doors, but Obama pushed forward and stated even indicates that there's a willingness for Congress to focus on this issue, and the fact that the focus means that we guarantee what's clear. They say they're going to break for 2 weeks to deal with the debt ceiling. This is simply not true. We read arguments about why they indicated that there would be a look next week on the immigration debate that those votes are coming up way before the sequestration cuts have to happen, because those they've asked a 3-month extension at the end of January, which means those votes don't come up for another 3 months. It means that the immigration debates are way more likely than having before. They say, oh, Obama's political capital is low. Even if that's the case, our uniqueness assumes that Obama's political capital is low, but that he has sufficient political capital to push through the popular immigration reform bill. As long as we win, that there is some bipartisan support, that then we win the Obama has sufficient capital to keep the Democrats in line, keep the Republicans in line, to do piecemeal reform, what the dissent is talking about. So we also have a couple of predictive uniqueness words about about when the bill will get introduced and why it's being popular with a bunch of other things. And we also have some uniqueness arguments about why other immigration bills have been traded off with because when they drop bills in front of the debates on these issues, even if they win, that it's all even if they win this a little bit off, it derails the compromise and the discussions that are happening now over immigration, regardless of whether or not it means the actual vote, which means that we are winning. We're winning a pretty compelling unique story about why the immigration reform startup action 3.0 is going to pass the status quo. So let's go to the next section now. They say that all of their arguments are not responsive to the fear mongering that the Republicans are doing, why the GOP would backlash. We have to win this for reasons why the GOP would backlash because they're already hesitant on immigration reform. Now, we had a couple of conceded arguments about why they would uniquely backlash against this. The first argument is that the GOP has indicated that the EPA kills jobs, man. They want to lock the gates in the EPA means that there is no currency for them to want to make anything that would certainly be enforced in the EPA. The second is that turns out the folks, the DREAM Act got killed because we dropped in DAT, and there's massive opposition to regulation, which probably takes out the reasons why they would be able to backlash against this. They say that it's the best action on climate change. This is simply not true because the Republicans hate anything that's taxation and regulation, which is both the ways that they would certainly spin a carbon tax, and even if it is a technically free market solution, actually it's not a free market solution. After that, obviously taxing something is not providing a free market solution. Free market solution is when you don't do anything regarding it. What's your thing, Paige?
They set the standards this year for the next 5 years. They absolutely won't, because that hurts in the next election cycle, right?
Oh yeah. Wait, what?
It hurts in the next election cycle because the next election cycle is in 4 years, right?
Who?
The EPA gets its regulation set in 5.
Oh yeah, and the EPA gets the regulation set in 5 years cycles, which means that this implicates their ability to win the next election, which means they will certainly have to backlash against this particular policy. And they say the plan is popular because why do they say the plan is popular?
Because it would create new business. It would create new business in green tech.
Oh, they say it would create new business in green tech. This is simply not true. And the business lobbies that currently exist without win, and the oil industry controls massive amount of commerce, and they probably are way more popular and have way more political leverage than the green tech companies. They say winners win empirically denied when Obama was able to pass healthcare. He got smacked around for the next 2 years, and there are other instances when Obama was able to get some piece of legislation that he personally supported that caused him to lose. Additionally, our story is not necessarily that Obama's pushing, but that he's going to work with Congress and keep the Republicans in line. The next argument is that they say no legislation in the status quo. Answer that above about the uniqueness. They say no market for jobs. Disagree. We sent to this report indicates there will be 9.2 million STEM jobs that are opening up next year, and we'd be able to create new jobs by allowing startup companies to come into the country, and that we would retain the current student visas that we have within the country, which means that we would create a massive gap, and that there is incentive to work in the United States, because the United States is a pretty sweet place. Additionally, they say that it would cost business confidence, but certainly not the case. It would actually increase business confidence. First of all, creates new businesses, which would boost their confidence. Second of all, it would certainly allow them to build the working ethics. The baby boomers are going to retire in the next 10 to 15 years. We need to have immigrants come into the country to fill those roles because domestic education systems are not emphasizing things like engineering and mathematics, which is what foreign education systems are emphasizing. So basically what happens is that we will lose our ability to innovate technology, and that is probably worse for the economy in the long run than a switch to green technology. They've also conceded independent impact that this would collapse U.S. Germany and U.S. Germany's keep solving transition wars, because when our ally, when U.S. Germany plans are forced to do things that proliferate or our challenges would be able to challenge us in arenas places like China would be able to challenge us in Taiwan, and in Pakistan would be able to go to war because the only thing that's holding them together is the United States. Those kinds of wars fail to be contained, where the United States and Germany declines. We don't have the technological superiority, but they've also conceded that immigrants are key to developing green technology. If we have a bunch of engineers retiring in the next couple of years, that even if we create incentives for businesses to build green technology, there's no one left to build or innovate or create new and more efficient green technology, which means that we're not able to solve, which is why the status quo is always a preferable option. Go to the case debate.
Probably should spend more time answering the status quo solves arguments. They're pretty slayer. A couple of reasons. First, solar efficiency is rapidly increasing. We created solar panels that are 40% efficient now. The next argument is that we created wind and hydroelectric power production tax credits, which will continue to fund those industries and create economic viability for those kinds of things. Those things, we produce enough wind turbines to be able to power all of China if we concentrated all of our wind energy, which means that they'll be able to solve. Additionally, even if we can't solve with renewables immediately, we have things like our natural gas, which have a third of the amount of carbon emissions which have a third amount of carbon emissions that coal does, which means we would be able to fill in the gap, these lower carbon emissions of fossil fuels, then switch to renewables later, which means that they don't let any of their extinction in the long run impacts because the status quo is attempting to resolve those, which means they don't get a try or die time. They've also conceded reasons why companies would be able to skirt EPA regulations. They do it now. They've empirically said that's off to the EPA because it creates too high a business regulation on them. They have ways to skirt measurement issues. They can tamper with the systems, and companies don't have an incentive to comply with these kinds of taxations, and they can also basically cook the books to avoid this kind of regulation. Additionally, they have conceded a couple of pieces of impact defense. First, that 99% of these species are going to think that there are a host of all causes why the ocean will acidify, things like debris and agricultural runoff, which means that there's no propensity for this to ever come to fruition. But also that long run global warming is survival because we have companies that are able to adapt, go to the competitive disadvantage. All of this is implicated by the immigration debate. If all of our scientists and engineers are going to retire in the next 10 years, then we need to be able to deliver your immigrants, and otherwise we'll never be able to compete. Also, all of their arguments about why other actors are building renewables tech are reasons why it would solve warming in the status quo.
Order will be first advantage 2. No, advantage 1, advantage 2 in politics. Everybody, and here you ready. This debate is pretty simple today. Y'all get to just evaluate what the world looks like at the end of the round. In a world where we have immigration reform, we have better great technology because we put more people into the best system in the world. We have the best possible scenario because we have people incorporating businesses. They are 2 times more likely to incorporate business and patents. It means that we solve global warming a lot better in the long term compared to a vision of the world where all these things don't come to fruition because the Republicans backlash on things like global warming. That means you're weighing the inevitability of global warming never happening, essentially in a world where the Republicans backlash and stop the EPA for the next 5 years. We are waiting on time frame. Go to the first argument. Go to the first advantage. You conceded a host of uniqueness arguments. There will be your argument. The first argument is the solar energy and efficiency and wind energy and hydroelectric. This means that the status quo solves your impact. Do not allow any new humor magic. They did not breathe a single word on this. This means that there is not an impact that the status quo is going to solve for warming. Even if you don't believe a single one of those arguments, it doesn't matter because go down to the bottom. They have conceded that there are other things that are going to make the ocean acidify, such as pollutants and marine debris and fertilizer. This means that there isn't an impact. They're probably going to go for the argument that oceanic species are unique, but these things are all already implicated in the fact that there's debris and other things which also makes them live in poison, and they're doing fine. That's why you cite their oceanic species now that need to be maintained. You have also conceded the argument that the EPA will be skirted. This is absolutely terrible for you because it means there isn't any solvency. So either you're in a double bind, either the status quo should solve, or there won't be any solvency because they'll be able to skirt the EPA to the point where they can tamper with the devices. Means there isn't any money to actually fund your green technology because they won't pay the $5 a ton, or then they'll just keep polluting. So either way, you're not going to resolve the issue. You're not going to resolve the issue of green tech. There is no possible way out of this decision. You might try to go for resource wars, but that is better implicated in our hydrogen. We see that we're going to be able to shut down transitionary wars and also wars and skirmishes over smaller things, which means the resource wars won't happen because we'll stop them before they start. Go to the second advantage. Only a couple of arguments. You conceded the fact that all of your uniqueness is a reason why you wouldn't solve because these are all status quo arguments and there are other multilateral actors, there are specific actors, there are states like Maryland probably should read this. You have also conceded the argument that renewables will be completed in the next 10 years probably means that there isn't a reason why we wouldn't solve. You've also conceded the fact that carbon tax would hurt research and development because they would either have to pay for the carbon or they just wouldn't. So either you wouldn't solve global warming or companies wouldn't go bankrupt themselves. Yeah.
Also, all the status quo solves arguments on the other major reasons why the U.S. is developing green tech now and solving competitiveness.
Yes, and all the reasons why the status quo solves now are reasons why the United States is growing in green the best market, not to mention their leadership arguments at the bottom go to the impact level. Now they have conceded the argument that we would be providing better for scientific diplomacy, STEM, and visa, specifically when they concede the argument, when they make the argument that the best climate change programs are in the United States, probably means that the status quo stalls, which are all reasons why we would have better independence. Go to politics. This debate is very simple. They have conceded a host of arguments that indicate that the most conservative person who is in charge of the Senate Judiciary Committee has said that they will pass this bill and that it will pass in the next couple weeks. That means that all of your numbers are irrelevant because we already took that into consideration with our uniqueness arguments. You should have answered them. Our arguments that Obama is going to have to push the bill. The Republicans say absolutely not because it implicates the next 5-year election cycle. They will backlash you. You concede the argument that it doesn't matter what type of bill it is as long as it is a bill that will derail them. That's our analysis on the ADT. You have conceded the argument on the internal link over now that there would already be business networks. You're probably going to go hard for the argument that there are businesses now. But our argument is that there are because you have to prove that you could hire a bunch of people to come to the United States. Also, there will be more visas than as Andy said, there are 9.2 billion jobs. This argument is very simple when they're going to be the people that are starting startups because we solve back for global warming. Glass head is the only internal link to all of your scenarios. If we don't have heads, we probably don't have scientific literature. Probably gives you a faster time frame on global warming than most certainly your BDU on resource wars, which means that at the end of the day, it's very simple because we're able to shut down the conflicts and promote the best diplomacy, which is something that does not happen in the world the other way because immigration gets derailed because the Republicans hate the EPA and they absolutely hate whatever the plan would do.
Is the one I see in order and then politics. Actually, advantage 2, advantage 1 politics. Without a competing policy option in this debate, 1% risk that what I see is capable of solving the inevitable environmental collapse means that your economic collapse coming out of the world of the disaster is absolutely inevitable. There's not an instance where transportation is possible in a world where we are all dying because of climate change. We articulate a 5% survival rate by 2050. That argument goes entirely conceded by the negative team in this debate means that you do not have a scenario for your disadvantage too. We say that we need a wide-scale full transition to renewable technology means that state actors and the status quo solving right now with some renewable energy is insufficient to be able to make the full transition that's necessary to be able to solve climate change. This also solves back your argument on advantage 1 about why solar and hydrogen, why solar power and water power is capable of solving the rate of emissions right now is inclusive of the rate of emissions with renewable technology. The 19.34 metric tons of carbon per capita that we articulate coming out of the 1AC is inclusive of the renewable technology, which means that the technology that is necessary to change climate to change carbon emissions to a rate at which it's sustainable to reverse climate emissions is necessary. Only be able to see the technology change that happens as a result of the tax revenue that comes in through the climate through the carbon dioxide tax will only happen in a world of the 1AC. Look. We create technology that reverses the effects of climate change. I don't know why you concede that argument, which means that even if you're right that renewables are subduing the level of carbon that's emitted in the status quo, you are incapable of solving the instance of warming as a whole because we reverse it.
I would like to point of order actively reverse warming. I think that you're like some of the other stuff that you're talking about around that is probably not new, but definitely the argument that you create technology that actively reverses the direction of warming is certainly a new argument.
That's incorrect. That is advantage 1, solvency argument number 1B.
Oh, that maybe wasn't a PMC, but that's not my argument. It was certainly not.
It was an argument that was extended as the MG number 3.
I mean, I'm sure you're.
I'm sure we'll take it under consideration. What is it? All right. tax incentive to provide is necessary for a full switch to green technology. We articulate this as the internal link to being able to solve climate change. We cannot solve climate change unless we have a full switch to green technology, which means that the lack of structure to force a switch to renewables means that you will only subdue the level of carbon that is emitted. You will not solve it on a larger scale. Additionally, although some companies may skirt the EPA, you can see that.
This is definitely not answering the MG.
Look, this argument is enormously extrapolated coming out of the law. Additionally,
measurements and
Megan,
companies have incentives too, but those are both the arguments that I extend.
additionally, Megan responds to how companies will respond to these measures.
I'll see where you go with
Yeah, I haven't made an
it.
argument.
Don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Or when AC is explicit, 1 million tons is a recognizable amount. You cannot skirt around 1 million tons. Okay. Even if the technology exists in the status quo, no one is using it because without taxes, it is not cost effective to switch, which probably means that we don't need immigrants to solve green technology. Additionally, we say that your alternative causality arguments don't get any traction in worlds where Maryland is already capable of modeling the system. Additionally, the extinction level of it. You say adaptation, we say it's too fast for adaptation. You concede an argument that says that this is 100 times faster than the last 20 billion years, which means that this puts us at the 5% rate of survival by 2050. You concede these arguments means that it's too fast for adaptation. You say the ocean's bumped right now, but we articulate the pH it controls the internal link to mass ocean depth because it is the difference between living with a few pieces of garbage over your head versus living in a pool of poison. That is the difference between ocean acidification and minor pollution. Additionally, you prefer 98.9% of extinction, but you concede Megan's argument that says that this is over the course of the entirety of human history, which means that the mass extinction that is coming right now as a result of climate change is different from the extinction that has happened in the past in the whole course of human history. Look, we are winning an extinction level scenario that says that climate change is coming right now. You concede a time frame that says that within the next 10 years it will be the point of no return, which means that if there's a risk that the money is capable of doing anything to mitigate the effects of climate change, to give us more time, then you should be voting after this debate. There is not a competitive policy option, which means that anything is better than nothing. Dissent. First argument that I want is that there's enormous time frame deficits to the dissent later, and that they will backlash on our definition because Congress is going to be on a break for next week. This means that sequestration is more politically contentious, an argument that you concede, and is more likely to be backlashed on, which means that especially in the worlds where the GOP you articulate as okay with STEM and student workers, this is especially probable that they would not backlash on our politics, but instead would backlash on sequestration. You concede that argument. You also concede there's an enormous time frame deficit because Congress will be out of session for the next week while they're on break. Additionally, the carbon dioxide tax is not an EPA policy. That has never been a part of our plan. Additionally, the GOP is full of logical decision makers who are capable of recognizing that jobs is good for, and if jobs as per your immigration legislation is good for the economy, they will probably be able to compromise to both get 1AC and create the jobs via bringing more immigrants in. You are also conceding an argument that says that the GOP will view this as the best option because we're not picking the type of technology and sticking to it. We are simply allowing technology to exist within a market, but we are putting a little bit of regulation on it. You say that this is not a free market solution, but we are not picking technology, which means that it is. Additionally, you say that immigrants are necessary for great technology. There is not a market or structure right now, which means that this incentive can only be created via the 1AC. We function as a prerequisite to the time frame of bringing immigrants in. Also, the U.S. is a leader in green technology, which means that immigrants are not key. The research happens at Berkeley and Harvard and MIT. It does not happen internationally. The 1AC will help on time frame and durability of extinction.
I guess